Hey guys, it is a new year, and Megan and I are really signing on to be a family on a mission this year. And I want to talk about that phrase. It's a phrase you may be hearing, it's getting some buzz in the church, but what does it mean, and how can we learn how to strategically pursue family on a mission? Well, I want to talk about that with you coming up. Hey guys, my name's Mark. Please subscribe to our channel so you get this content right there in your inbox and you don't miss a video. Okay, so family on a mission. Now, this video is not going to be a teaching video in which we dig throughout scripture and see where we get this context for this phrase, family on a mission. Worth doing, but not this video. Instead, this is a practical and strategic look at how we can learn how to be a family on a mission. So Jesus shared a parable that gives us 5 parts to kingdom growth on which we can pursue being a family on a mission. And those 5 parts are this, that we are called to enter and engage new fields or new groups of people within our lives, to share the gospel, engage them with our story and God's story, to begin to disciple them, to begin to give them some practical handholds on how they can begin to take steps to engage with Jesus and grow alongside him, to gather into church, and then finally to raise up leaders to engage others in their lives. All right, so let's talk engagement, because I think of all of the parts of what it means to be a family on a mission, engaging with others for the sake of Christ can oftentimes be the biggest hurdle. How do I begin to approach somebody? How do I begin to talk to somebody? That's hard, right? Well, first of all, who do we engage? And the reality is, if we are at least at some moderate level of health as a family, which sometimes we do need to go through inner healing so that we can begin to develop healthy relationships. But if we have some level of health, we have got relationships with people in different spheres of our lives, right? We might be the coach of a soccer team, or our kids might be on a soccer team, or we go to a health club and we do fitness regularly. Or maybe you've got an interest and you're a photographer or you're an artist, or whatever it is, you've got connections with a network of people. So we don't have to begin to add mission onto our lives. Instead, we can begin to recognize the mission field we're already in. See, all of us are connected with people. We're already around people who may not yet know Jesus, or at least we've never talked with them about our faith. This is a great place to start. This is where we can begin to engage with people. So I want to invite you to take out a blank piece of paper, draw out these 4 fields, and then right there in that first box of engage, who are you going to engage in this new year? Where are there places that are already in your life that you feel called by God to begin to engage with the gospel? Okay, so this takes us to the next field, which is the gospel field. So as a family on a mission that is learning how to share the gospel, we do this through words and through deeds. And so this year, I want to invite you to begin to think about and pray about how can we begin to get strategic with our deeds and with our words. Deeds. This looks like finding ways to serve and connect with the networks you're already plugged in with. You might be in a neighborhood. Bake some cookies. Go find ways to connect with your neighbors in a way that serves them. Simply offer to pray for your neighbor. You might begin to hear what's going on with them and they have a challenge in their life. Everybody has challenges in their life. Offer to pray for them. This begins to demonstrate the reality of the kingdom. Or if they're sick in their bodies, offer to pray for them. And then words. Are you able to articulate your story with Jesus in a short, powerful way? If not, that is a way that you can begin to take a step towards being a family on a mission this year. In fact, make it your goal as a family to practice sharing your personal story in a real simple, short, compact way. What this does is it puts the ammunition in your belt. If you are not ready to be able to talk about how you know Jesus, and if you can't articulate the gospel, very highly likely you won't when you have the opportunity. So practice. Take some time to practice. And then write that in that box this year for your goal. Maybe your goal is to practice sharing your story. Maybe your goal is to take a time once a week to begin to engage your neighbors and do this through deeds. Begin to serve them. Find a way to bake cookies for your neighbors, to just knock on the door and get to know them a bit. Or maybe it's on the soccer team that you begin to get to know the other parents that you're coaching. Or if you are a kid on a team, begin to get to know the other kids that you're on the team with. The goal here is that we would begin to let our story intersect their story and give them an opportunity to respond to the gospel. And now we move on to this discipleship square. So in 2019, Megan and I, we are looking for those who are ready to begin to take steps to respond to Jesus. That's what the goal of discipleship is, right? And this discipleship square, our goal is to find those who are taking steps. Taking steps from being far from God towards being near God. So who are you beginning to pray for in your life, or who are you beginning to invite to take another step? Now, somebody may know Jesus. What's the next step for them? Maybe somebody's been a Christian for a long time, and for them, the next step is getting trained in how they can make disciples of others. But for this square, I want to challenge you this year in 2019 to write down a couple people, maybe they're already in your life, that you know are a follower of Jesus, or maybe you know that they are wanting to learn more about Jesus. How can you begin to engage them and help them take a next step in obeying Jesus? In our context, we use Discovery Bible Study, a simple tool to help people identify through the Bible the voice of Jesus and a step they can begin to take to respond and put into practice the commands of Christ in their life. So this brings us to the church field. And this is awesome because as a family on a mission, we have something to offer the world that is incredibly unique. As a family, our simple interactions actually begin to point to the reality of Jesus. Jesus said this, that where two or more are gathered in his name, there is he among us. In other words, when two believers are in the same room and they are interacting with each other or interacting with God in the presence of one another, God comes into the room. And an unbeliever begins to encounter God through a family that is interacting with God together. So family on a mission looks like believers getting together. And this can be your nuclear family, your biological family, or your church family. And as you begin to interact with one another in the presence of God and in the presence of unbelievers, they have an opportunity to interact with God for themselves along the way. So this is part of what it means to be church. It means that unbelievers begin to encounter Jesus in the context of believers. Read 1 Corinthians 14 for a deeper look at this reality. There's also times where Megan and I, we take time to meet together with our fellow believers and connect and just have times of no agenda to pray for each other and have fun. That's important so that we can have a vibrant relationship as a family together. So finally, we have this circle in the middle that is leadership development, and this happens when we find the faithful, available, teachable, and invite them into all of the rest of the fields and the parts of our life. Rather than adding on a whole nother thing, the goal here is to invite them along for the journey. So we, as often as possible, find ways to invite leaders into what we're already doing. As we are engaging with new people, as we are sharing the gospel with our neighbors and with different clubs and networks in our life, as we begin to help people to take a next step, we invite leaders along with us. And then we gather with people in church, we're inviting leaders along with us. So write down on your piece of paper a few leaders that you feel led to invite into your life. How are you going to open up your life this year and let leaders join you along the way and be formed through your life? Okay, so I hope this has been helpful and practical. Family on a mission shouldn't just be an abstract idea, but it should have some feet to it. It should have some strategy to it. So in these ways, we can begin to engage with God on some practical ways that we can engage with people in our lives, that we can share the gospel and make plans to be ready to share the gospel, that we can help people begin to take a next step towards disciples of Jesus, gathering with people in churches, and then finally raising up new leaders. So hopefully that's helpful, and I want to encourage you that 2019 can be a year of radical steps forward in mission right there in your city. And it's not just for the professionals. This is for you. Everyone can be a family on a mission and be a part of what God is doing right there in their city. Love you guys. See you next time. Guys, I sure hope this has been helpful content, and if it has, please take a moment and subscribe to our channel and leave us a question, leave us a comment. We'd love to connect with you and talk with you more.